What's up, guys? This is the Casual Wrestling Show with Mike and D. I am the notorious Nerdy D, joined by the one and only Milwaukee Mike, and each and every week we bring you fast-paced hot takes for your listening enjoyment. This week we are live on YouTube. We were supposed to be live on TikTok, but some bullshit went down, Mike, about 20 minutes before we got set to go on here. I got an email from TikTok saying that somebody reported our channel. Yeah, and I think we've kind of got it narrowed down to one of three possibilities, which obviously they don't want to hear us talk live. They don't want to give us an open forum. And I knew this was going to happen with TikTok because TikTok is soft. TikTok is where, TikTok caters to anybody who cries and doesn't like, and the TikTok I put up earlier was a little bit rough against the Wyatt Six, and I think we ruffled some feathers, and so we pissed them off. But we're still live on YouTube. We're live on YouTube. They can't get us off of YouTube, and we'll get back on TikTok. We're gonna appeal, and we'll get back on TikTok. But for now, we are live on YouTube. So Mike, let's start the show off with a question that I think is on everybody's mind. Last night was insane. Absolutely bonkers. Maybe the best Monday Night Raw I've ever seen in my life. I want to start off with one funny question for you, and then I'll hit you with the real question. Number one, Mike, is Chad Gable still alive? Like, I can't get an update from anybody. Did it not look like he was shot in the head, though? Like, those don't feel like fist fight wounds. So real question for you, though, Mike. That was insane. How are you feel? What are your feelings one night removed from the Wyatt Six reveal? It's interesting. Oh,
team, or they all were kind of around the ring when one was going at it. I'd kind of like to see it like that. I'd also like the masks not to come off. I think we all know who these people are, but these are new entities, and I think we need to stick to that. And I think the only way you do that is if they keep their identity with the masks on. I'm wondering if they're going to go that route or not. But when the lights go up and the entrances are done and the music's done playing and the theatrics are all done, that's when this story is really going to have to be told, right? Because I think you could go and you could cut your vignettes, you can have the scenes like last night. That's all well and fine. But I think at the end of the day, this is professional wrestling, right? So I think myself, as long with a couple people in the Discord, we're all wondering what the ring work's going to look like. But I'm excited, man. I think that Triple H is kind of taking us back old school with this. And I think creatively, I think they're going to check the boxes that they know they dropped the ball on previously with Bray Wyatt before, obviously, he passed away. So Wyatt Six, man, A+ night. I'm excited to see where it's going. I hope that it's more storytelling based as opposed to just like wrestling. And I want to see them jump show to show. I don't want to see them show specific. I want to see them kind of create chaos on all three brands. But yeah, man, A+ night.
So I'm gonna piggyback on what you just said. I don't think they're wrestling. Not for a long time.
I don't think they should.
I think we are going to get one-off instances of them, and then they're going to disappear. Like I don't think we hear from them again for a couple of weeks.
Really?
I think that Triple H was willing to take the QR codes this far and play it this long. I think that he knows he can drag this out a long time, Mike. Like, he's sunk everybody. Like, everybody is engaged in this now. You don't have to pick this back up next week. What you start doing now is having everybody look over their shoulder. You have everybody, something falls. Now we've got more clues and more things like this starting again. We maybe get a couple of more QR code type things, not every week, but things that are like, I told you so. You guys didn't believe me. You didn't think this was coming. And so they kind of lay into that. You don't have to do this every week. And I don't think they have to wrestle, because I'm with you. I think the minute you take the mask off, a little bit of the allure is gone.
Yep.
Like, they become who we know them as, like Dexter Loomis and Joe Gacy and those different people. The minute you take those masks off, as long as you kind of keep – and like the Easter eggs, Mike, was insane. Like the fact that Eric Redbeard had on what's his name's mask is attached to his costume. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I've seen that.
The level of detail, the gloves, the different things like that. I think there's no need to rush this. This doesn't have to be rushed. This doesn't have to go down in the next 2 weeks. This doesn't have to go down before SummerSlam. Because what do? Like, I don't really want Uncle Howdy to wrestle right now.
I will say that was one thing that I did. There's two things. The first thing, I want to piggyback off the SummerSlam reference. I don't want them to be in an outdoor stadium where there's sunlight. I want this to be kind of like a dark, like controllable environment. I think at SummerSlam, you risk it just kind of takes the aura away from it. If you're going to walk out at 7 p.m., sun's still out.
Agree.
So let's pump the brakes on SummerSlam. I do want to say they're toying with the idea of bringing back the Bad Blood pay-per-view. Okay. And I could see that being a Wide Six showcase, just based on, the connection. It just kind of would make sense, right? Bad Blood is kind of around Halloween time. All of it kind of makes sense. Second thing I want to kind of touch on is, and I kind of threw this at myself maybe about an hour before the show. It seems like the people that they may target are people that have wronged others. Now, obviously, we've seen the list of people that potentially may have been on the floor and the bodies that we kind of seen.
That list, because I don't believe that list. Like I don't
think so either.
I've watched it like 10 times at this point, and I don't see what everybody else is seeing.
No, I've watched it a couple times myself, and I'm trying to kind of focus in. Obviously, it's easy to kind of speculate, but I'm going to kind of pause that for a minute. But I do think that they're going to go after people that have wronged others,
and I think that's 100%.
I think that's the agenda, right? And that, you've seen Gunther's name going around. Well, he wronged Vinci, right?
Yeah.
You've seen Carmelo's name going around. Well, he wronged Trick Williams. Braun Strowman. He wronged Bray Wyatt. So this could all be something that I kind of want to keep my eye on. But yeah, I think it's gonna be interesting how they kind of tore this on. I'm with you. Let's stretch this. Let's not.
The issue for me now is, do I have to go back and rewatch all of these QR codes? Because is there so much in there that we passed off as like, let's get to the point. But like, are there clues in there that have been hinting at certain targets? Like I saw in the Discord, and the problem is I don't know what's real and not real anymore, because you get people who manufacture a certain amount of bullshit.
Yeah.
But like I saw something in the Discord that said like, you no longer say thank you or something like that, which is a direct relation to Chad Gable, right? And so how we didn't see that coming. What I think is interesting is Triple H's willingness to, the show the last 3 weeks has been built around Chad Gable and then to just kind of slam on the brakes in one story. And I was kind of like, oh, Gable's done. Like, if he's not in the IC title picture, I guess he could win Money in the Bank, but I don't really see him doing that. What's going on? Here he is. He's thrown into this Wyatt 6. That's going to be the biggest thing for the next 6 months. It's interesting. And I am a little worried, like, how do we come out of this? On Friday and next Monday is going to be very interesting because it can have potential to be a little bit hokey. If we show up on Friday and they don't say anything and they just kind of act like nothing happened, that's scary because I feel like we witnessed a couple murders.
Yeah.
And if you do say it, you've got to be careful to not make it hokey, to not make it like, I don't want it supernatural. And I think that's everybody's worry is like, don't give them special powers, just make them crazy. Make them the crazy people who, like you said, I kind of like the vigilante style of like, they're fucking Batman. They're running around righting wrongs and living in the image of Bray Wyatt. It could be cool. I'm excited to see where it goes. Like, more excited than I've been in a long time for anything in professional wrestling. That was so different.
Yeah, and to those people that are complaining that it's hokey and like, what do you expect? You just thought Uncle Howdy was going to walk in the building with luggage, swinging his cane, like just a regular, like, come on, like you knew like something was going to happen.
Yeah,
like, you got to cut that out.
And it's wrestling. I mean, at the end of the day, it's still fucking wrestling. And I get
exactly,
and I understand because I get the argument because I've made the argument a lot of times that I think wrestling's transitioned too much into the reality of like things have to make too much sense. At the end of the day, it is wrestling, right? And if we go into Friday and they don't give me an explanation, I'm going to assume like, all right, here goes another weird story I got to follow for the next couple of weeks. I don't think we can overreact to anything at this point because like you said, you told me in a text message, it's funny how we can shit on Triple H for the last 6 months for these QR codes and talk shit. And then in one night he can go, gotcha, assholes. I got you. Yep. You're back in. I was toying with you.
Yep. I think if anything, we definitely need to, like, they cannot just leave Chad Gable thinking, like, they have to dive into that because otherwise he's dead. He's dead.
Because I mean he has a match next week.
Yeah.
Like,
you got to do something.
Yeah, he can't be a zombie. I guess he could be a zombie, but then
maybe. Right.
All right, Mike. Last night on Monday Night Raw, we saw Drew McIntyre, a man of few words for once, come out to the middle of the ring, kind of huff and puff for a minute, and then tell WWE and the WWE Universe that he quits. I think there's a lot of people who assume that this is all story, but I've seen a couple people who believe that Drew McIntyre is actually frustrated with the company at this point. I want to get your point of view on what you think's going on in the Drew McIntyre situation.
I mean, this story has been, it's really peaking and it's brilliant, right? Like the mental games have caught up to Drew. He's been screwed over too many times. He thinks that the company is behind and supporting the people that have screwed him over, and he's done. Like this is part of the story, right? And I think it's brilliant. I think everything that happened last night was perfect. I think the deletion of the social media, another kind of knickknack that just kind of adds to everything, right? I truly believe that, one of two things in my mind that could happen, right? Friday in Chicago, Drew McIntyre is there.
Lost your mic.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
So Drew McIntyre is there as a fan in Chicago. He jumps the guardrail and beats the crap out of CM Punk, right?
Yeah.
Or he goes to Money in the Bank where CM Punk probably qualifies to be in and screws him out of being the Money in the Bank winner. I think that's the only two ways I've seen people say, well, he goes to TNA. I think we're jumping on this TNA thing a little bit too much. We got to pump the brakes on that a little bit, right? But yeah, man, I think this has been great. And I think honestly, when this is kind of said and done, I think this might be a better feud than Roman versus Cody.
I do too. I've said for the last couple of weeks, I've been saying I think this is your feud of the year because of the commitment that both of these guys are willing to put in. And I am one of those people, Mike, who believe we see Drew McIntyre in some other promotion in the next couple of weeks because right now with the Wyatt stuff and Triple H actually having Drew lose in Scotland, I think he's committed to the bit. Like, he's committed to the stories. And right now, Triple H is a puppet master just with news headlines. And to have Drew McIntyre show up in Japan, show up in TNA, wherever it is, and almost look like a free agent, it's just going to create these huge narratives, and it's going to get people like us talking. And it doesn't matter how, like, we know wrestling enough to know that this is a story, right? But it always, that doubt always starts to creep in. Like,
sure,
well, I guess he may not come back, right? Like, I guess he could be. We can't hear who. Who can't y'all hear? Nasir? Somebody said they can't hear us.
Oh.
Can y'all hear us? I'm waiting for someone to answer. Well, I'll keep going until somebody says something. But yeah, okay. he just said, wait, then someone else says I can hear him. This is going to be the fun of going live, Mike.
This is the fun. This is the fun.
Yeah. It's not as polished as it was when we can go chop it up.
Right.
But yeah, like I am a little bit of the school of Drew McIntyre going somewhere else and us not seeing any of this before Money in the Bank. I don't want to see CM Punk get Money in the Bank. I think that there's a part of me that wants Punk to come out on Monday, talk his shit, say Drew McIntyre took his ball and went home, and then kind of start something with somebody else where it appears we're going a different direction, and have Drew show up a little bit before SummerSlam and kind of re-get that story going. But man, like you said, this is triple. The reason he can do things like the Wyatt Six is he has laid these seeds out for the last 6 months, right after WrestleMania and even pre-WrestleMania. He started dropping seeds all over the place, and now these things are starting to sprout in different places. And typically, right, if Drew McIntyre lost in Scotland, we all go, oh, that sucks. But you've got Damian cooking now. So we're not worried there, right? I'm completely fine going Damian and Gunther at SummerSlam, which means I'm completely fine going CM Punk and Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam, and which means that I don't even need, most of the time I'm super impatient. I don't need the Wyatt Six, like we said. Like, let this thing play out. Tell me about them. Tell me a story and keep it going long term. But yeah, this Drew McIntyre stuff, it just goes to show, man, Triple H, he's got a plan. Unlike WWE has had in a long time, I think Triple H has the next 6 months to a year mapped out. I think he knows where we're going to WrestleMania. And I want to say, for all the people who panic on Drew McIntyre, his time is coming. Like, they're ultimately building this triumphant moment where he finally gets over, because I think at some point we're going to get the double flip, right? We're going to get Punk going heel, and the crowd is just going to become sympathetic to the point where we can't be mad at Drew McIntyre anymore. And who's better than CM Punk to be that guy?
I completely agree with you, and I think the double flip definitely has to happen, because if we're going to get Seth Rollins versus CM Punk at some point, that has definitely to, So I agree with you.
And like I just try to plan it out in my head. I go like, I see Drew winning at WrestleMania in Las Vegas. I think that's where his end goal is, because I think right now the play is, I think, here's what I do think based on Clash of the Castle. I think Damian beats Gunther at SummerSlam, maybe with the help of the Judgment Day, but I don't think that's where Gunther finally pulls the trigger and becomes World Heavyweight Champion. I think they're going to give Gunther a little bit of adversity, that they're going to make him work for it a little bit. I think it's Germany where he wins that title, because I don't see Triple H pissing off 2 European crowds. He took it away from Scotland, so I think he dangles it to Germany, and that's where Gunther wins the World Heavyweight Championship against Damian Priest. And I think it's going to be based on the Judgment Day and Liv Morgan, and there's just going to be so much mess going on, and Gunther's going to kind of have the attitude of like, get your shit together, Damian. You've got all this stuff going on. But I think Damian bought himself some more time. Hey, how about the fucking ankle thing with Damian? That was insane.
Yo, if that was me, my foot is in the crowd. Like I stand no chance.
I don't know if there's timeouts in wrestling. I'm calling timeout.
I'm
Hold
like
on.
something. Yeah, this ain't happening to me.
Did you see how Drew reacted? Drew at first wants to help him.
He panicked a little bit.
Oh shit! I'm in a wrestling match. I got to kick him a couple times.
Yeah. I seen
and
that.
Now I got to get up there and help. That was wild, man.
That was wild. Absolutely.
All right, Mike. Last topic here for the show is Seth Rollins came back. Open the show. Very, very unexpected to me. What do you think is the reason we're seeing Seth Rollins? It feels like Becky just got vacation time, and now we're calling Seth back in. I feel sorry for the poor family. Little Rue can't get her parents at the same time. She can't get mommy and daddy at home at the same time. But what is the purpose of this? Because there's got to be something at play here, right? Because I don't know that this was a must do right now.
No, so couple theories, right? Obviously, this kind of feels like one of those Brock Lesnar, like smash the glass in case of emergency, right? Because I do think that the opponents for Damian Priest right now are very thin. I don't think there's many that you can throw in there right now. So I think that's something that you have to consider. But then I sat back and I thought, could they have let Drew win and then Damian cash in because Seth was hurt and he needed a break to go get surgery and heal up? Like maybe the plan was actually for Seth to win, but then, the injuries just got too much to the point where he had to kind of go away and heal up. Now he's healed up. And now I could listen, man, I could see a situation where Seth Rollins wins at Money in the Bank and gets the title back. Now I know Damian Priest is hot right now. I can see that, but here's how we set this up, right? Stay with me.
Uh-huh.
So the Money in the Bank match happens. Finn Balor wins.
Okay.
Finn Balor comes out during the Seth Rollins Damian Priest match, distracts Damian Priest to the point that Seth Rollins is able to capitalize, win the title back. Now we get Gunther versus Seth Rollins at SummerSlam, and we get Damian Priest versus Finn Balor at SummerSlam. I could see that situation panning out. But I can also see a situation where, somebody else wins Money in the Bank and everything kind of goes as script. But
yeah,
this is kind of my gears rolling. But yeah, man, it was interesting to see him kind of pop back. I think we were kind of expecting him to be out maybe the rest of the year. I'm wondering if there's a rebrand. The Tron looked a little different. There wasn't all the flashing colors. So I'm wondering if there's a rebrand. He kind of didn't seem as like he did a little dancing, but it wasn't like, he normally does. So I'm going to keep my eye on that. But yeah, man, I obviously we love to have him back, but it definitely was like, whoa.
Now, how sure are we that he makes it to Money in the Bank too, though? That would be the next question. Could he be a decoy for somebody else? Could somebody else step in and take him out again, right? Like you said, to break glass in case of emergency. Maybe it is the situation where they go, we haven't quite set up the right contender for Damian Priest yet, so we can get this pop with Seth Rollins, and we can just take him right back out with somebody. Now, I don't know who that is. I would have to sit and think a little bit to think. Maybe it is just Judgment Day. Maybe it is Finn Balor or somebody like that. I don't know. That maybe doesn't make sense. But to me, this feels like almost like it was like, hey, Becky came back and put someone over. I'm going to come back and put someone over. I think there's a little bit lost on like Seth Rollins' loyalty to Triple H. I believe that like he sees Damian doing well, and there's a possibility he called up and said, "Hey, let me put him over. Let me put the next workhorse over so we can continue the legacy of this title." I think there is a little bit of a chip on his shoulder towards that title and making that title relevant. And I, like you said, nobody makes that title more relevant than beating Seth Rollins. Sure. You do legitimize your title run by putting that notch back in your belt. And once again, then what? Seth goes away again. And I mean, do you think he's back? You think he's like back?
I mean, if he does the match at Money in the Bank, then yeah, he's.
So you think he's back just full-time rock? Man, I really do. I know we're joking, but I feel bad because it felt like post-WrestleMania was supposed to be a break for him and Becky. Maybe they just love what they do so much that they can't stay away. I mean, why would you want to, right? The product is better than it's ever been. It feels like this is when, like, if I feel like Roman's got to start looking around at some point and getting the itch and going, man, without me, they kept the ball rolling, and now I can come back and get involved in this.
Well, I mean, I pumped the brakes on that one. I think SmackDown is a shit show right now. I think they desperately need Roman back. But
you think so?
Yeah,
I was just about to ask you that.
God.
I don't think it's a shit show. I think that right now it's just when you have someone like Roman who holds a title for there's a vacuum that has to be created because he's essentially destroyed everything, right? And so there is a rebuilding period. And so I don't necessarily look at it as a shit show because when I start looking at numbers, Cody Rhodes is selling more merchandise than anybody in professional wrestling, period, right? So Cody is a guy. He's just, Cody is more of a John Cena than he is a Roman Reigns. And so we're transitioning back into this era where a lot of us grown men don't necessarily, like, that's not for us. And SmackDown hasn't typically been that show. I think that AJ Styles was the natural progression. And yes, they're going to have to figure some things out. Don't know, this Solo Sikoa thing, I think is literally just a setup for Randy to turn on Cody. I really believe that's what that is. So I think that there's a lot of moving pieces on SmackDown. I don't know. Yeah, well, I mean, losing the tag team titles, the women's tag team titles, was not great for SmackDown. That doesn't make sense to me.
Obviously, this Logan Paul, like having him and LA go at it, that's going to help because not having the U.S. title has definitely put a damper on things, right? Because there's not that secondary.
And I think I think LA Knight wins it in Cleveland. I think Logan is going to take. He's going to be. Or maybe possibly as liked in Cleveland as LA Knight. So it's going to be a big match feel being home. Yeah. And I think that's where LA Knight wins the title. And then it becomes interesting of, the mid card on SmackDown could be interesting. You've got guys like Montez Ford. You've got a lot of talent like Carmelo Hayes and people like that. I can see where you say it's a little bit of a shit show, but to me, SmackDown is just, like I said, it's a void. Anytime you lose, Roman was the show. We all tuned in to watch Roman on a weekly basis, and Cody's had to come in and try and fill that hole, and he's done the best he can do. I mean, he's defended AJ, Logan, AJ, right? That's been the three. And I liked Solo. Yeah, and now it looks like Solo. And I liked the I Quit match. I don't know how you felt about it. I liked it. I
liked it, yeah.
I Quit matches, typically, that's what they are. And I thought it was the best version of AJ Styles I'd seen in a long time. So, yeah, I don't know how we got to that SmackDown conversation, but I'm giving SmackDown a little bit of time before I completely, because I am still the ambassador of SmackDown.
That's why, listen, man.
So I have to defend it a little bit.
We kind of rolling things a little bit, we'll see what happens.
So we got a question here, Mike, from Blaze Gods.
Yeah.
He asked, what if Gunther takes over the Judgment Day and takes the title and has everyone turn on Damian Priest? Could you see Gunther taking over the Judgment Day?
I can't chalk up a situation where that would be wild. I mean, because he's got the Imperium stick. I don't know, man. I guess that's a fantasy, in the head, but I can't see that happening.
Can I ask you a question because I think this came from a video game. I don't know. I have gaps in my wrestling watching that I don't remember. Has there been like a European group of like Drew McIntyre, Gunther, Wade Barrett type thing like that? Like a United Nation type? Because I find it interesting that Wade Barrett took such an interest in Drew McIntyre losing. And I've heard people throw out the rumor, let's reform the Nexus. Don't like that idea. Nexus is done. Yeah. Let's not do Nexus. Yeah. But is there a world where Drew, Gunther, Sheamus, but he's fighting with Ludwig, so it doesn't make sense unless they get rid of Ludwig? I don't know. Is there a world where they come together and create a faction to go against the Judgment Day?
honestly, I think the Judgment Day is just going to crumble on its own. I don't think there's going to be a group that takes them down. I think they're going to
You
crumble.
think it's just self implosion?
Yeah, I mean, listen, man. Liv's getting in there. Rhea's going to come back. You got the tension between Finn and Damian. Like, you got JD McDonald's. You know, it's just not. It's not gonna. I think they're gonna crumble from within.
Before we go, the last thing here, the Liv Morgan stuff is fucking working. Like, it works. It weirdly works, and I hated it. I hated it first. I hated her having the title, but Dom is so self-aware, and I've hated on Dom so many times, and I openly, and I still have the same criticism of him, right? I don't think he's great in the ring. I don't think he's as good on a microphone, but he's so self-aware of what his character is, and kind of the like dumpy dumb guy who walks around and like, give me my jacket back. Like, he's so self-aware, and she's playing this character so well that this does feel like a throwback to like AJ Lee and some of those storylines with like the crazy girl. And so I like this. I don't know where it's going with Finn Balor. That's interesting because the key card and things like that. But at this point, I know better. We got to quick, like, we can guess for fun, but I know my guesses are wrong at this point because it almost feels like Triple H is baiting us. Like, look right here. Yeah. Look right here. Yep. Look right here. Yep. Like, motherfuckers, it's over here. This is what I was doing.
100%. 100%.
You got anything else?
No, man. I think just to go on the Clash at the Castle, I thought that was a decent show. I didn't think it was like anything special, but it did its job. It did its job. Obviously we could talk about the crowds again. I think that's just going to be a thing. We just all have to kind of get used to it. I thought that was a better crowd though, Mike. I thought they were better because I think they at least made sense. They were cheering the babyface. They were booing the heel. We got a couple of weird, like, fun chants, like Shayna scares me and fuck you. Who did they say fuck you to? I forgot. It was somebody. Man. Fuck you. I don't remember. It was funny. It made me laugh. But yeah, I thought that crowd was better. But I'm with you. Like, they put the little like decibel meter. They're baiting the crowd like, we want you to cheer and yell. That is a thing now. That's the thing we got to live with. Thing. That's what overseas crowd. But interesting that you do that and then you leave the crowd just completely stunned. Pissed. Poor Samantha Irvine has to go out there and be like, man. That's it. There's no more. There's nothing more. Yeah, man, that's about it for me.
All right, this has been another episode of the Casual Wrestling Podcast. Make sure to like and subscribe. Join the Discord. Follow us on social media. Do you have one final thing? I don't.
Not really. Not this week. No.
We'll sit down and figure out. If we're gonna do this live, we'll figure out the structure. Yeah, I knew number one was going to be a little bit of let's throw this out there and see how it goes. I like the 3 topics. We'll get into the weeds of how we do it. But yeah,
hell yeah.
Follow us on social media. Before we get out of here, Mike, it is time for the final bell. Ding 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 ding. I fucking was reading the old script, so I just had to make something up there.
Yeah, I don't know. I got a phone call.